And you people tell me Energon Ironhide is bad because of this. I'm kind of falling behind on the Titans Return toy line, so let's spend a little bit of time this week catching up. Starting with Legends Class Seaspray, the latest in the Minibot line in the Legends size class. Brought back from G1, man, for the first time in forever. I think he came out in G2, and that's pretty much been it, aside from Seasprays of dubious generation classification. Never did quite figure out where that 2010 toys fit in. But yeah, now we have him back at the size all the other mini-bots have been returning in. So just like his G1 incarnation, he is cast in blue, yellow, and white plastic, creating the look of his classic hovercraft mode, which I have no idea if it has any bearing on any real-world hovercraft whatsoever. If not in form, then at the very least in color scheme. You know, except the one super crazy Seaspray fan who actually did paint their hovercraft who looked like this. Good on you. I'm sure you're out there. Tell me where you found like a blue rubber hover skirt like this. That's probably the difficult part. So yeah, we have him in a fairly decent design. There's not a whole lot of paint going on here. A little bit there in the red, which I assume that on top is one of the new sonar weapons you see being used on you know, oceanic craft these days. You can see a little bit of tampograph done under there. We'll get to that. But really the only paint that's, you know, blatantly obvious here is the white here on the side and the black for the windshields. You can also see little doors that are supposedly painted over. That gives you some semblance of scale. He's a big guy. If that is actually a door, the detailing is so small it's hard to make out. So there's really not a whole lot to say here. He does have a pretty decent job of doing a hovercraft up. He has the little propellers in the back. Yay! They spin. But you'll find no wheels or anything of the like underneath, so it's not like he's going to roll along or anything. Yeah, so nothing really terribly offensive there. He's got nothing for Titan Masters to do as far as pegs or anything goes. You can remove the weapon, so we can actually get to see another Autobot emblem underneath, as well as the full tampographs that will be a little bit better in robot mode. You'll also notice he's playing peekaboo. So this is where we start getting into some of the downsides of this mold. He's not hiding his head very well or at all. It's literally just a panel that covers his face. You don't even rotate his head. You can't really rotate his head. There's so much stuff in the way. It's very difficult to do. So it is a Titans Return figure, so it has to be compatible in one way or another, and it's compatible by the storage compartment in the back where Titan Master can seat. We will hold on by the white section and then pull up in order to reveal who is hiding inside. So yeah, you have a little seat there for the Titan Master to ride in. There's nothing for him to peg into. No pegs for his feet and no slot for the tab on the back of his heels. You just kind of have to fit him in the right spot. Now, when you are lining up a Titan Master to sit inside there, you actually have to make sure that the head is going to go into this square hole that you see on the roof. That's the only way it actually fits. To not do this will actually reveal a slight problem that I have with this mold. See that? You notice the whole underside coming off the pegs? So this, when I first discovered this little flaw, the whole thing flew apart. That was astonishing. So yeah, the underside of that compartment is held on by nothing but 4 pegs. No glue, no screws. And this is very shoddy work on a Transformer these days. I know it's only a $10 figure, but man, that's really disappointing. Like, it shouldn't come off that easily. And it shouldn't have such a defect in it to where it could accidentally fly off like that. You know, that's pretty easy to do. Also, actually using the hatch to store Titan Master reveals another slight flaw. It pushes the panel down, and the panel does not hinge back up along with the rest of the section. That's unfortunate. So you've got some problems with the gimmick here, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know, do we forgive it because it's a $10 figure? We've seen it done better. Let's go to robot mode. We'll see what can be redeemed on this guy. You're not going to have to wait long. The transformation, pretty easy. We're going to unpeg the arms from the sides, which is pretty easy to do because it's all just very small pegs and tabs. The legs accordion out like so. And once the feet are folded down, you can go to the rear and fold these back. It fills up the gap nicely and gives them some heels to stand on. The pelvis is also accordioned in. You can hear the tight joints this guy has. Can't take that away from him. So, with the body completely done, we can rotate the arms down, give the elbows a little bend now. The panel's already down, thank you, gimmick. So we can lower the whole block. Oh, and now it comes back up in order to complete his robot mode. So, very simple transformation. We've seen a little bit more complex, but at this size scale, that's pretty par for the course. We're not going to argue it too much. So, yeah, he's a simplistic little figure, but, well, if you're a Seaspray fan, you got pretty much what you want. He's got all the colors in the right spots, and he's more or less a decent incarnation of the G1 toy, or at least the G1 character. We'll get to some of it here in a little bit, my personal grievances, so we'll take a look at the head. The head is completely painted up yellow, which leads me to believe it's somewhere else in the mold sprue for any possible redeco, though I'm not sure what that would be. Seaspray's head design has always been pretty simplistic. There's a few grooves in the mask, but otherwise, it's a pretty basic shape. A lot of square shapes, square visor, no mouth. Yeah, so your Seaspray is pretty much defined by the fact that it's yellow. Looking at him, the robot mode is not really all that appealing to me. Now, I'm not going to take away from, like, the pudgy body look, because even in the G1 cartoon, that's kind of what Seaspray was like. But there is something strange in the proportions to this toy with how scrawny the arms end up being and how big the legs are. Specifically, the feet are absolutely gigantic. He's wearing something that eclipses even clown shoes. And I just realized I used the phrase eclipse on this day of all days. Haha, I meant to review Shadow Moon today. Slipped my mind. So, the toy itself, I don't know, proportions don't do a whole lot for me, but we'll get into that here in a bit. So, what can we look at here? Well, the tampographs actually do match some of the G1 stickering detail. That's a really cool thing. Detail-wise, he's revealed a lot more yellow thanks to those legs. So his colors are working for him anyway. Not a whole lot of new white revealed. They're just kind of center masted around his torso. And aside from, big feet, it's really hard to kind of argue. Everything kind of gets tucked up and secured. So not really finding a whole lot of fault other than the proportions are a little bit odd. And for Seaspray, that might be fine. Mileage may vary, but some of the other mini-bots, he does end up looking a wee bit strange. We'll go ahead and go to the articulation, because there's a few other little tricks to show. First off, he does have articulation at the neck, but because of all this stuff that's tucked around and his head is stuffed inside, it's actually quite difficult to actually get to, but you do have full range of motion if you can actually manage it. Ball joints in the shoulders means full rotation there, but you do have a little bit of hindrance because of how his arms are shaped. Elbow is not such a problem, though. Full bend, full rotation all around. Nothing at the waist. Hips. Those are tight. And they're also not cut great because you can't get the legs out any farther than that. Not that Seaspray is going to be doing backflips or cartwheels or anything, but a little bit more range than that would have been nice. You have a thigh swivel, which, that's fine. Knee bend. Decent knee bend. Nothing really at the ankles, though. Though his feet are so big, you're probably going to have no problem getting him into some kind of pose that can actually stay stable. So, as a little mini-bot, he doesn't do too bad in the articulation range. He also has that sonic weapon, which, as many reviewers and people pointed out, it just kind of looks like a pizza box. So, we can have him hold his little pizza launcher thing, not in his hand, which can hold a 5mm weapon, but in that little slot above, where we can connect it on. So, he does have some equipment, he does have some weaponry, should he need it. However, this is where the engineering does actually get a little bit clever, in that we can take that off and put it right back onto his body. And that creates that creates the silhouette of the pudgier Seaspray that we are familiar with from the G1 cartoon. So okay, so you get a little bit of dual use out of that weapon. That's pretty cool. And that's about the one credit I can give the engineering on the toy. So that is Legends Seaspray. What do we think? Well, this is just one reviewer's opinion, but he ends up being something of a disappointing package, where the overall look and color scheme definitely strikes G1 Seaspray correctly. I can't help but feel like the alt mode is being held back by some shoddy engineering. In particular, yes, the panel underneath that flies off, but also the side skirts on mine don't really line up correctly. Maybe it's just mine, which is why I didn't bring them up before, but it is a bothersome thing if yours happens to suffer from that. The transformation is nothing to write home about, especially that flip-down faceplate thing. And he's got some strange proportions going on in robot mode that do make him look a little bit weird standing next to his mini-bot brethren. All in all, he's okay, but I find myself kind of disappointed, especially for how long we've been waiting for a new Seaspray toy. Ultimately, there's far better Legends class figures in the line already. This one ends up low middle tier, I think, which is unfortunate because, I always liked Seaspray in the cartoon, but it would have been nice if his toy stood up a little bit better. Well, he stands up fine. His feet are huge, but you know what I mean.